WDHA's Reconnect with Rockers. Even though I'm reconnecting, I'm just connecting, but I feel like I've known you forever. It's Eric Vanlerberghe from I Prevail. Thank you so much for checking in. I love the background, by the way. This is your basement?
Yeah, it's my basement. I've been, what else can I do while we should be touring than to work on the house? So I've been, me and our guitarists each have our own Twitch streams. So we've been working on making our basement, our setups.
I love it. I love it. I feel like I'm in like an arcade game, vintage arcade game, like back in the day where I'm getting ready to drive or shoot something up or something. So I absolutely love it. All right, so let's jump into the rock and roll. I Prevail, new record, Trauma. No sophomore slump for you guys. First of all, the sound has always been so unique. I feel like you guys are one of the newer bands, and I love saying this to bands, kind of creating that genre that's sort of all your own. And it's difficult to say that to a lot of new bands. So talk to me a little bit about being in a very kind of unique space, you know, in the rock climate.
Well, first of all, thank you. That means a lot, because it's funny when you go to write and you're like, you don't want to sound like someone else, but you don't want to put something out that you're like, this doesn't even feel like music, you know? So it's exciting. It's exciting because when we got 3 records essentially. We had our EP, which started everything with the cover and all that, and that was just writing as we went. We each had full-time jobs. I was working like 70 hours a week, and we would just every other weekend chip away at a song. And so over a year, we wrote 7 songs, and then we go to write Lifelines, and there's, you know, you got your managers, you got the label, you got things, you got them, and everyone, you got time constraints because you got tours coming up and all that. So even though no one's telling you what to do or what to write or how to act or whatever, you have their voices in the back of your head and you make decisions, and you're like, well, if you come down to a 50-50, it's kind of like, well, okay, well, I guess this is probably the smarter move or the safer move. So going into Trauma, we were like, man, all the decisions that we made were the right ones, and all the decisions that we let other people influence us may not have been the right one. So this time around, screw it. No, we wrote a song called Dead Weight, about cutting out the dead weight. We let go of people left and right, and we did it the way we wanted to. And there's a lot of people saying, I don't know, this song shouldn't be on the record, or I don't know, this vocal take is not, I don't think it's going to be acceptable for the final take. And here we are now, and I am just beyond words of proud of ourselves for just doing what we wanted to do in the first place, and to be able to have this. Luckily, I'm super grateful to have this success this young in our career. I'm beyond words grateful and appreciative of everyone giving us a chance. And
I'm so glad that you didn't get caught up in the second guessing. The second guessing yourself, you know, is really tough. But you still want to have an open mind. Mm-hmm. But you still want to rely a little bit on your gut. It's a very, very, you know, precarious situation for a band, especially a new band, to be in. So hats off to you guys. And it's so funny because, you know, I was leaving this station and coming to my little studio space here, and I'm like, oh, I've got an I Prevail interview. And one of the guys, I'll say his name publicly, that works with me, Mike Bufus, he goes, you know, I love them. Is it clean vocals or harsh vocals? Who is it, clean or harsh? And I'm like, it's harsh, you know, it's, you know, so I love, you know, it's so interesting to have bands with 2 vocalists, very important, you know, part of the puzzle, but there's not that many. So, you know, you look to classic bands and you're thinking, you know, Pink Floyd, I mean, some of the greatest bands ever, Kiss, the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, you know, get a little Linkin Park in there, but still people think of Chester as being, you know, the synonymous vocalist. Did you ever, you know, realize you were going to be part earlier, or did it just work out that way of a band with 2 really important parts for the vocals?
Growing up in all the bands that I was in, I was just the only vocalist. We had, you know, the guitarists add stuff in here and there, but going into this project, I was like, okay, this could be cool, like going a little back and forth, and then to be where we're at now. And it's funny to people be like, man, they're just ripping off this one band. It's like, yeah, okay. No, we're ripping off that one band.
There's nobody that you're ripping off. I think it's so incredible and unique. And I just love the fact he deciphered it as which vocal, well, who? He didn't even give me names, you know. He didn't.
And I'm glad.
Not gonna bribe, you know. No, it was like harsh or clean.
I was gonna say, I'm glad that was it the clean vocalist or the dirty vocalist? Because I take offense. I take showers, goddammit. I'm not the dirty vocalist.
No, it was so awesome. And I love that. I was like, what a great fan reaction, such a visceral fan reaction.
That's
and
awesome.
I will tell you guys too, a lot of freaking band crammed into a small period of time. You guys are not playing, like Hurricane is definitely almost synonymous to what you guys have been through, because I look at the career, you've had such highs and then, and some lows, that kind of brought you back to the highs. I mean, you had one of the most successful debuts. You guys had a tour bus fire. Brian had issues with vocals, vocal polyps on the vocals. Not a good thing. You see any kind of, polyps, you talk to people that have had to have vocal surgery.
Yeah.
So incredibly traumatic. That happened when you were on tour. I know you lost some people that were very important in your life. Then you get Grammy nomination. Freaking Grammy nominations.
Yeah.
This was a roller coaster ride for you guys. How do you deal with something like that?
Honestly, I've just compartmentalized some of this stuff. Like I don't want to say I don't let it phase me, because it does, and that's you'd be a horrible human being if you just let everything roll off your shoulders. You need to have some adversity or some stressors in your life to make something great. And the cliche, what diamond doesn't, pressure from coal, diamond, all that stuff. But it's I'm grateful for everything that we've been through, because through the lows. Looking back on them, they were low. But that's what made us who we are. And there was nothing that we faced that we couldn't get over together. From Brian's surgery to the bus fire, from losing a bunch of things to having things behind the scene with what I call the suits, things like that, just to come through and just put out a record that we wanted to do and have, just even once it had just a little bit of success, I was like waiting for it. It was like 2 days after it comes out, and I'm like, ready, all of you. So it was I was just ready and waiting for it. But it's been a wild ride, and to be only 5-6 years into our career, I couldn't even put into words how grateful I am for the support that we've had from you guys, from radio stations, from fans, from even our friends and family. It means a lot. It means more than I can say.
Yeah, well, you guys have become a radio band. There are radio bands, and I Prevail's become a radio band. And you mentioned that you think that these experiences, especially when they happen in a short period of time, make you better songwriters. You guys are a band that appeals to the fans for that reason. The music touches, the music connects. Whenever I look at a video or something on YouTube and I see the comments, people talk about, I don't feel alone. There's always a message of unity. Talk to me about how that has affected you guys as songwriters and as performers, knowing that it's not just always, you have some bands that people are in the crowd like, oh, it's great to see these guys live. And then other people that really feel like you were in their head.
Yeah.
For lack of a better phrase. That's a big responsibility too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Who was it? I want to quote him. I'm pretty sure it was Davey from this band Vanna that told me that you're putting out a record. You're not just putting out music. You're putting out something that is going to be a bookmark or a chapter in someone's life when they're looking back. They're going to remember, be like, for me, like I remember my senior year was this band, and this band that I played on repeat, or this record came out when I was a freshman in college, or I was going through some shit and I was listening to this record all the time. So once that really clicked on our last record, when we were hearing things, so going forward in this next record, and also we're not some turds that live out in the hills of California or just living in our mansions off the beaten path. Like right now, after I'm done with this, I'm going to go out and check my family's garden and go do some cooking and go do some yard work. Like everything that we're doing, like none of us are living lavishly or outside of like what everyone else is seeing. So to write about anything else just feels disingenuous to ourselves and to the fans. So whenever we're writing something, it's like, we're still we're just normal people, and I feel stupid having to say that, but we're just normal people.
Authenticity is something that people gravitate towards, and people gravitate towards authenticity, and they can really feel that you guys can really feel that. So, you know, but to see your music touching fans so much, like I'll see people say like I was in such a dark place, and you know, then I heard whatever, you know, I'm trying to think of like a song that, you know,
we get Breaking Down a lot.
Yeah. You know, it's a song that people are always like, I heard Breaking Down, it changed everything for me. In these comments, you know, I'm watching one after the other, and it was like, wow, you know, these people are really, really feeling this. And when the pandemic hit, were you guys on tour? Were you guys on the road?
We were in Europe. Yeah, so we had a 6-week tour, and we were on the halfway point, and 2 of the next shows got canceled. So we were like, all right, I guess we're just gonna have 2 off days. So half of us, the crew and me, started drinking very heavily, wine that we got from France the other night, and absinthe got mixed in, and they were like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. We're like, hey, Trump's giving an address. We should probably watch it. It's about the virus. So we watched it, and while we're all buzzed, we're watching on the little cell phone. Oh man, so I guess we're gonna have to go home, huh? And
wow.
That whole night, from like 3 in the morning till 7 in the morning, we were calling all different Delta agents from all over, trying to get through, book all our flights, and we had to do them all separately. So 13 different people calling and rearranging our flights and all that. A group of us flew that morning at 9 a.m. out of Amsterdam. So we were up all night, just got on a plane, flew 8 or 9 hours to Minneapolis, or it was Minnesota, and then a layover, and then flew to Detroit. And then the other group flew later in that day straight to Detroit. Another group had to wait in Amsterdam for 12 hours and fly out on their own. But we had like 40 pieces of gear, like all in different luggage, and that was something that you know, you could tell the grandkids one day, like, I had to do this a long time ago. We're out running the virus.
And yeah, I remember reading, you know, the bands that were like rushing back from being on tour and stuff, and you guys were on that list, and I was like, ooh, you know, that's crazy.
Luckily, I got a friend from the States who served in the military. He's got families married and has a family out in Germany. Where is it? The Bavaria. He's out in Bavaria, and he's like, I have a whole apartment. If you get stuck here, just come stay here as long as you want. So I was kind of hoping that we missed our flight. I could have just stayed in Germany for a month.
That's the next record. That's the solo record.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the next single too, because I want to talk about Every Time You Leave.
Mm-hmm.
I think is a really great choice, interesting choice, with Delaney Jane, who's also on it with Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Very emotional, super emotional song. So how did you guys decide? Because I would imagine that you all kind of decided who was going to be the female that was going to make, you know, a part of your album be great.
We were just looking through Spotify and just coming up, like there's the big names that we were looking up. We're like, oh man, just picturing what would their voice sound like. Cause we had the part written, we had the verse open, and we were like, all right, this is the part that we want. So we just listened to a bunch of different artists, and we're like, man, I wonder how she would do it. And I wonder how she would do it. And I wonder how they would do it. And finally got down. I think Brian came across Delaney Jane and was like, how about her? And we listened, and we're like, yeah, I really like her voice. Really unique. She hasn't done anything rock from what I saw. It would be cool. So we hit her up. She cut the track, got it back, and like, whoa, this is
it's fantastic.
Better than we could have imagined. This is sick. So
absolutely. She's a Canadian singer, and you know, if you check her out and Google her and stuff, you'll get to see all of the great stuff she's done. But yeah, you know, I had to get familiar with her too when I saw she was on the record. I'm like, let me check her out. And wow, I mean, she just blew my doors off. And I think it's so cool that you brought her into this whole rock arena.
Yeah.
You know, and bringing somebody different in and new in, as opposed to somebody that everybody always knows.
That's all what we're about.
Huge. Big deal.
Yeah.
You know, big deal and super big deal for her. So what have you discovered that you kind of like doing? You mentioned a little gardening. Who else mentioned that to me? Gavin Rossdale told me he has as he called it, a herb garden.
I got one of them too.
And he said it's the whole difference when you're cutting chives and they got the purple flowers. They're nothing like the chives you get in a restaurant. You can't compare. And I think everybody's been doing a little bit of like this cooking thing. People didn't realize that they were chefs. So is that something that you've been, you know, kind of digging doing?
Yes. I've been streaming on Twitch. I've been collecting records. I've just been doing stuff around the house, but the gardening thing, first of all, to hear that he does that too. I've been following him on different interviews. Like someone will be like, "Oh, I just interviewed him," and blah, blah, blah. You know, you're the first one I've done after Gavin. I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool," because I just took my mom to go see him a few months ago before this whole pandemic stuff happened, and they blew me away. Bush is so good live.
I know, so good.
I'm like, if I could be that good in 10 years,
You said, did you say you took Mom?
Yeah. So some of our crew worked on that tour. They did live lights and sound or something for live, and Bush and Our Lady of Peace were on that tour. And they took me over to pass. I was like, I take my sisters to shows all the time, and a friend or two. But I was like, "Hey, Ma, you want to go to this show?"
I love that. Right. So what did Mom think? Because you look at Gavin and you're just like, he looks like he's 25. The guy.
I didn't know how old he was, and he has his shirt off, and he ran up. He ran all the way up to the grass up in the pavilion, and ran all the way down, still singing, just high fiving people. I'm like, if I could be that fit now, like, goddamn, that guy's crushing it.
That's what I was wondering. Like, what was Mom sort of like? Whoa, thanks for taking me.
Yeah, I was like, all right, Mom, no more wine. You're cut off for the rest of the night. I'm driving.
I love that. But you've been cooking and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm not getting paid for them. I'm not getting paid by them. So it's not a promotion. But this home chef stuff I've been ordering. Like, you pick your meals and they'll send you produce and directions and whatever, meat or whatever this meal needs. And so I got the directions, and I'll start cooking it, and then I'll go out in the garden and get more of what it is that they sent me. Like, all right, you need a tomato and this and this. I'll go out and grab more of what I got.
Eric's doing the enhancement.
Yeah, so I'm like adding. Last night I had some jalapeno jam and coconut crusted chicken with rice and green and red peppers and onions. Well, I went out and grabbed some jalapenos. I got this ghost pepper cherry sauce. I got a bunch of other, seasonings and herbs and stuff. And I went and made my own shit. So I was like, all right, cool. Here are the directions. All right, now this is what I get to add. So I find this new love of cooking where, like, I've never cooked in my life. And here I am. Here's everything you need. And then I can go out in the garden and, like, add stuff. It's like I found this new love for something. It's cool.
Well, it's a creative process,
Yeah, absolutely.
You're obviously a creative thinker, a creative guy, and you're always making kind of, something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And, you could see how the two things would fit together. I can't wait till we get to see you guys. We had a WDHA Present show, and you guys were on the bill, and, I'm not even going to go there because we will be able to do it again, but I cannot wait to actually, get to connect with you guys and see you guys live and meet you in person without the screen in front of us, because you've been such a fun guest. I mean, you've been just such a fun guest, to have on. So Eric from I Prevail, Trauma is the new record. And just a great hang. Thank you for reconnecting on Reconnect with Rockers, and best of luck to you guys. If we're locked down even longer than expected, you'll come on with me again. Maybe we'll do a segment. I would love to do something like that.
Absolutely, that'd be awesome. You're speaking of the animals, the rescue animals that you earlier before we started. We found a bunch of feral kittens, so I adopted one of them. Oh. And then my friends, Dylan, his friend, our guitarist Dylan, his friend. Just had Frenchie puppies, so I'm about to adopt a Frenchie puppy.
Are you getting
soon.
a Frenchie? Oh, they're cute. Oh, we'll get a Frenchie. I need to see like an Instagram post, especially his puppies, because they're like, who was on? Oh, Dustin from Starset.
Oh yeah.
And of course Ernie was a big part of the interview. So Ernie, his dog Ernie, and my dog Rosie did like a whole little virtual play date, and Ernie was kind of passed out. Rosie was growling. It was, my idea of a virtual play date. But that's amazing. I'm so glad. And, cats always need homes too. There's so many more cats in shelters and dogs and stuff. So that's awesome that
I've never been a cat fan, never been a cat guy. And then I saw this kitten, and we got homes for all of them. And there's just this one left, and it's a little white and gray thing. I found it's a Seal Point Siamese, if anyone knows what that is. And I was like, oh my God, this thing, I've never seen a cat like this. It's adorable. I'll take care of it. If I can't find a home for it, I'll find a home for it. And it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm like, all right, this cat's got to stay here. I love it.
You found a home.
Yeah. Now I gotta even it out with a dog, because I've always been a dog guy. And now I got a cat and no dog. Who am I?
No, you can balance it out. They get along great. I need to see the Frenchie though. When the Frenchie promise we'll hook up.
Yes, promise. I think they'll be ready in September. So hopefully if things aren't let up by then, we'll do another call and I'll bring both the kitten and
I would
puppy
love
down.
it. We can do it as singles get released from trauma for sure.
Perfect.
Eric from I Prevail, it has been such a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. I've had such a good time. I feel like I'm just like hanging out with my buddy in a bar with no drinks.
Hey, likewise. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. And like you're saying, we'll have to do this again.
Love it.
Awesome. DHA's Reconnect with Rockers is powered by Advantage Contracting and by Karis Lock Company.